Hello again, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages. Hey, it's STEM with Mr. C, and today we've got something that kind of goes with what we did last week. And if you remember, we did Valentine's chromatography. If you missed that, you're going to want to go ahead and click up there. And that is going to take you to chromatography, where we talk about colors and how different things are made up of different things, which seems obvious. But this is going to be kind of cool because we're going to make flowers and we're going to color them using chromatography. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how flowers get their water, and we're going to model that by building our very own flower. So let's talk about our materials. First, to make our flower petals, you can actually use a couple things if you want, and I'm going to do two different flowers for you. I've got my basket coffee filters here, and if you remember from the chromatography experiment, coffee filters work really well in taking water through capillary action. We remember capillary action, and it does a great job, and it basically sucks the water up all throughout the filter. So we're going to make some petals using these. And we can also do the same thing using just regular old paper. Okay, so I'm going to do both of them. You can also experiment at home. Maybe try some cardstock, maybe try a different coffee filter, whatever you're feeling. So anyway, for the petals, coffee filters or paper, you're going to need a paper towel, and we're going to wrap this around our stem, and it's going to simulate how the flowers and trees get their water. Okay. For the actual stem, you can use two things. Now I'm going to do two things here. So if you have a skewer at home or like a little bamboo dowel or something like this, you can use that. If you have one of my kits, I didn't put any dowels in there, but I put some of these coffee stirrers here, and these actually work really well too. So I'm going to do one using this. Scissors to cut out your petals. You're going to need a cup, and we're going to put some water in there too. If you'd like, right, I also have a spray bottle of water. It's fun to spray the petals and watch what happens. Some markers, and I'm just gonna go, as we learned last week, I'm gonna use black markers because they do make some pretty awesome colors. I'm also gonna use red and some purple just to kind of make it interesting. And then actually to make our petals, I do have a template here, and I'm gonna kind of use this, but I'm really just gonna, what I call eyeball it, and I'm just gonna, or freehand it, I'm just gonna make the petals kind of based on this. Now you don't have to use this. If you'd like to use this and print it off and trace it, it'll be in the description, my link right there, and it's also available if you are on Seesaw and Google Classroom with me, it'll be there as well. Or do your own thing, make your own petals, right? You know, I don't want to keep you down if you're like, well, that's only 4 petals, I want to do 5. Well, yeah, do 5 petals then, right? I'm just doing 4, and you see my dotted line there. That's going to be kind of important because that's where we're going to fold it. All right. And if you're tracing or drawing, pencils are always good. And to round everything out, at the top of the skewer, we're going to have to hold everything in place. So I have these little marshmallows. They're not real marshmallows. They're foam marshmallows I cut in half. So some of these are in your kits if you are doing this with me. You can also use, I also put some pony beads in there. That works exceptionally well. They're thin enough where it works well for the skewer and my coffee stirrer. If you don't have any of that, you can just tape everything and hold it in place. Works just fine. Okay, I think we got everything. So let's go ahead and let's go down here and let's draw out our petals. Okay, so I have my pencil, I've got my sheet of paper. I'll do the same thing with the coffee filter. And I have my template here, and I'm really just gonna be copying this. I'm gonna be kind of looking at it and reproducing it. If you wanna print this out, you can always trace it by putting it under here and tracing. I'm just gonna kind of look at it because I want my flowers to be a little bit bigger, okay? And I'm gonna make 2 petals. I'm gonna make one here and one here. I may need to get my second sheet of paper, but we'll see how that works. All right, your choice if you want to get a ruler, but I'm going to draw the center first. So if you see over here, I've got my little dotted lines, and I want to have that because that's going to tell me where I'm going to fold it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make a 1, 2, 3, 4 centimeter, 1, 2, 3, 4 centimeter, let's do 5 centimeter. 5 centimeter, and then I'm just gonna make a square, another 5 centimeters. All right, and so there we go, and I'm gonna put a little circle right in the center, and that's just gonna tell me that's where, that's the stem is gonna go through. And now from here, I'm just going to kind of just draw out some petals. So, and there we go. Not bad, right? Those are pretty big, and I'm gonna do the same thing over on my second sheet of paper. And because I don't want to recopy everything, I'm just going to trace, or I don't want to reuse my ruler, I'm just going to trace out my square again. And then I'm going to, just because I think it would look cool, I'm going to make the same flowers, but it may be a little different, right? So I may do a little, because really it's just, you know, you can make a flower however you want, right? So I like it like this. I've got one here that's kind of got wavy, and I've got a regular one here. Totally cool with that. Next thing we need to do is we need to cut these out. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, and I'm sure you didn't want to see me cut all this out. So I cut out my 2 paper flowers, and I also made my coffee filter ones. And you can see I kind of changed it up a little bit. I did a little, looks like a throwing star. I thought that would be kind of cool for a petal. So I'm gonna go ahead, there's my coffee filter flower petals, and here are my regular paper. Now from here, you're just gonna go ahead and color this however you want, right? So, and I only have 2 colors here, but as we know, not all markers are created the same. So I'm gonna go ahead and decorate my petals. You can decorate them however you want, and I'll go ahead and speed this up just to kind of show you it can be a little fun. Here we go. And there we go. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with my coffee filters. And then when we come back, I'm gonna show you how to set up our petals and to get everything going. Okay, so here are my designs. And our next step, we're gonna go ahead and just poke a hole right in the center, right? So we drew that little circle there. We're just gonna poke a hole. Fairly easy if you have a skewer, right? Just watch your fingers. Just gonna poke a hole right through there. Beautiful. Just up through there. Yeah, that's right. And Tony agrees with me. And there we go, right through the center. And so that's what it's gonna look like. That's what we're going for, right? Let me point you right there. That's what we're going for right there. I'm gonna go and poke a hole there. I'm gonna do the same thing with my paper. You might have a little more trouble with your paper just because it's a little thicker. So just watch your fingers when you poke a hole through, just like that. Beautiful, let's do the other one. And you see it's a little off. It doesn't really matter as long as it's somewhere near the center. Or you can just flip it over, find the center, and as the British say, Bob's your uncle, and you got it. All right, our next step is going to be folding our petals. So you notice that's why we have the box there. So we're just gonna fold our petals in, just like that. So fold them. If you're using my template, it's on the dotted line. If you just hand drew your square, it's gonna be that solid line. So let's go ahead and fold our petals, just like that. We're gonna fold them in. Beautiful, fold them in, fold those petals in. So you're not gonna be able to really collapse them on each other. Unfold and then refold, beautiful, look at that. All right, and then fold, Beautiful. And now, all right, now we have our petals. They'll stay like that. Let's do our other one here. And I'm good with that. All right, so now our next step, whatever you're using, you're gonna go ahead and grab that paper towel, okay? So what we wanna do is we are going to take our paper towel and we're gonna wrap, so you notice we have I'm gonna use my bamboo skewer. I'm gonna do it once with the bamboo skewer, and then I'm gonna do it again with the coffee stirrer. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap our paper towel around the skewer, okay? You don't need to tape it, right? It'll stay on its own. You just have to wrap it fairly tight. So I'm gonna start at one end, and it would actually help too. This is a lot of paper towel. It's way more than I need. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this, not even really in half. I'm gonna cut it into like kind of thirds. It's a lot of paper towel. You don't need that much paper towel. And we're just gonna fold and fold as best you can, right? I understand it's not gonna be a perfect rolling that paper towel around. It's not gonna be perfect, but there we go, right? And we're just gonna hold that like that. Beautiful, and so here's my point. As you can see, there's my point right there. And so I'm going to take my petals and I'm just going to thread them through. I'm just going to poke a hole, and you're gonna notice that paper towel bunches up a little bit. That's okay, because you do want that paper towel, you want it touching the paper. It needs to touch the paper, okay? So bunch it up like that. Beautiful. And then let's go ahead and put our other one. Beautiful. And then now from here, what we can do, we've got that right there. We need to hold everything in place. So this is where you can take your little marshmallow that you have or your bead, and you're just gonna poke it through there, and it holds everything in place. So it's almost like that's the center of your flower. All right, perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other one using my coffee stirrer. So let's set that aside. Take out my coffee stirrer, and you notice at first, right, first glance, obviously this is way more paper towel than I need. So I don't need that much. I'm gonna go ahead and trim this, actually by a lot. Okay, and it's gonna be different for whatever, you know, some bamboo skewers or coffee filter or coffee skewers or straws, they're all gonna be different. So you really just have to look at it and go, that's about what I want. Okay, as long as there's a little bit extra there, I'm good with that. All right, and then we're just going to, and then I think this is gonna be way more than I need. So I'm just gonna trim this a little bit. There's nothing wrong with having too much paper towel. It just gets a little, you know, kind of hard to roll it around the straw. And we're gonna do the same thing. And my first little rolls are actually folds, just to kind of get it started. And there we go. Beautiful. Okay, and it will, you just grip it like that, grip it, and it will hold together, right? Don't worry about it just unraveling. It'll hold together, don't worry. And then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna poke our coffee stirrer through our petal just like that. And then we'll do the same thing. And then now you're gonna run into a little bit of trouble, right? Now if you have one of those beads, one of those pony beads, that'll work perfectly. If you're using one of my marshmallows, you're gonna have to kind of make a little hole in there, and you can either do that with your skewer or just take your scissors. If you're doing this with an adult, please have them do it, just because I don't want you cutting yourself with scissors, right? And all I'm doing is I'm just making a little hole, just enough where that coffee stirrer can go in. Just enough, right? I don't need to go all the way through, just enough where it will poke on there and it will stick. Just like that. And even that, right? So that's not enough. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make a bigger hole, right? And this time I am gonna go through a little bit, and you can see that scissor poking through, and that's kind of what I want. There we go. And so what happens, you see my petals fell off. It's okay, stick them back on. Stick them back on, throw them on there. Beautiful. And now I can put that marshmallow back on. And there, and see, it'll still, and that's because my paper towel is pushing this up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this down a little bit, right? That, you're gonna run into that, right? That paper towel is gonna push everything, and you don't want that. So let's try it one more time. It can be a little tricky with the coffee filter, or with the coffee filters. Well, the coffee filters and the coffee stirrers, right? And I'm just gonna poke that right in there, and let's try it again. And there we go. I can feel it poking in there. And it's just not, see, you see it's bending right there, and that's okay, right? So all I really need is just to find a way to get this to go through. And this is a perfect example of trial and error, right? I've done this quite a few times, and then the one time I need to show everybody, it doesn't really work, right? And that's okay. Biggest thing is you don't give up. So now I'm gonna try it again, and I'm gonna poke it through on the other side and feed it through. And that is gonna work a lot better, right? So then I'm gonna bunch up my paper towel so it's touching everything, and there we go. So again, biggest thing, don't get frustrated. You know, find a way. I'm gonna fold everything up. And this is what you can do. You can start folding everything up. And beautiful. All right, well, let's go ahead and plant our flowers. Okay, so I have my plastic cups here. My coffee filter one sits fine. And you'll notice this, right? Sometimes you'll put the flower in an empty cup, right? And that's just because the paper is a lot heavier. My skewer is a lot heavier. So before I do that, I wanna make sure I water this, okay? Now, when you water it, you don't need to fill it up all the way to the top. You can, right? But you don't need that much water. I'm gonna fill it up about halfway, right? Which is about an inch. If you remember a quick way to find an inch, just use that second knuckle, right? And that's gonna be about halfway. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour it in. All right, and then that's gonna stay just fine. Now I can already see, and you're gonna see this too, you're gonna see that water creeping up that paper towel. That's what you want it to do. Same thing, let's go ahead and move this to the side. And about halfway. Ah, beautiful. All right, so again, that water is gonna start creeping up that paper towel, which is what we want. Remember, capillary action, right? Lots of little tiny straws in that paper towel. And I wanna make sure this touches. Really make sure, this is your chance right now. Look at your paper towels. Make sure it's touching your petals. You need to make sure it does that. And if you have a spray bottle, right, this is kind of a fun thing, especially with my paper. Coffee filters are already kind of floppy, but what you can do, and I'm gonna spin this around to really kind of show. There we go. And I'm just gonna go ahead, show you guys, and give a little spray. Oh, and you see those, oh, look at that. And see those petals open up? Oh, what a thing of beauty. I love nature sometimes. Oh, goodness. Anyway, nature. And then you won't notice with the coffee filter just because they're a little more floppy, but you can do the same thing. You can, oh, there we go. Oh, look, opening up, opening up. Oh, gorgeous. All right, and now all you have to do is just put this somewhere, right? Somewhere where the cat, the dog, your baby sister, baby brother, your mom or dad won't knock it over. So I'm gonna put mine on my bookshelf, and I'm gonna tell Tony not to knock it over. He's usually really good about following instructions. So let's hope. Tony, yeah, no, he's trying to get treats. I will give you treats after this, okay? Tony, come here. Are you gonna knock this over? No, he says he's not. He's not gonna knock it over, good. Okay, good boy. All right, so this won't take very long, right? It is gonna take a couple hours. I know, it's a long time. So the cool thing is do this at night and then wake up the next morning and you're gonna see all these cool things happen with your flowers. So we're gonna check back in a couple hours and we're gonna see what happened with our petals, and then we're gonna explain the science Not with chromatography, but how, if we only sprayed a little bit of water, how did water travel from the cup all the way up here? And how is that like real live plants and trees? All right, come back in a couple hours and, well, to you, it'll seem like about 2 seconds. For me, it'll seem a couple hours. And then let's go ahead and check out what we have. Well, good morning, everybody. And I decided to check on our flowers from yesterday. And let's go ahead and start off. I did this actually a couple days ago. This is my first one I did. And look at that. I know you guys didn't see the before picture, but you can really tell, look at that, where all of the ink, and they're actually still, it's a little wet too, all of the ink has moved from the center and is pushed towards the petals. Let's go ahead and check my large coffee filter ones. And this is, again, the danger of doing really big, I mean, this looks really pretty actually. And if you remember, I mean, go ahead and check out what it looked like before, but look at this. Oh, this is gorgeous. Look at all of the ink has moved from the center and is now pushed towards the petals. It's a little floppy because it's wet and it's still, you know, absorbing water. And I got my blue ink there. And yeah, if you make the petals too big, it does get kind of floppy. So definitely, if you wanted to look kind of bouncy and nice, kind of go with the smaller petals. But I like to do the large petals just to show you all. We have some interesting things going on here with the paper. So the first two were coffee filters. Now this is my paper, and it's interesting, right? And it's still gonna absorb. It's probably gonna take another day. And you can kind of see, look at that, very pretty. You know, some of the water finds a quicker track and then it absorbs. And then over here, right, it's kind of avoided this area. So you got a lot of cool things going on, but basically when we started, these petals were dry. And then overnight, the water got drawn up or sucked up through our stem, which is our paper towel and either our barbecue skewer or our coffee stirrer. And pretty cool, look at that. So the water just absorbed up through the stem using capillary action and then went into our petals. So let's talk about, I'm gonna use my small one here. Let's talk about what's going on here, because this is actually exactly how plants, and most vascular plants and trees get their water. So we know, or maybe we don't know, but the water gets absorbed by the roots, right? When we spray the petals, we're really just kind of making them wet. They don't get watered that way. The water gets absorbed through the roots and gets pushed up from the roots into the stem for lots of ways, root pressure, but the water gets absorbed and it gets drawn up through the stem by what we call capillary action. And then what's really cool is it goes all the way up to the petals, and this is how the petals and everything gets its water. Well, there's two main channels, and I like to think of them as, like, basically just think of them as straws. The first way is called the xylem, X-Y-L-E-M. It's a great word, xylem. And the xylem is where, that's the channel where the water and the nutrients gets from the roots and goes up into the plant, and so it feeds our petals and the rest of the tree or the plant with water and nutrients. So the xylem, right, that's one straw and that goes up. And then, and we can't really see it here, obviously, because this isn't a real plant, but there's another channel, it's called the phloem, P-H-L-O-E-M, another great word, right? And that's another channel, think of it, another straw, when our green plants, when they convert sunlight into energy using photosynthesis, all of that energy goes down the phloem and goes into the rest of the tree, or plant, or flower, or shrub, whatever you really have. So that is really, we're just simulating the xylem here, right? Using capillary action, using the power of water, you know, the cohesion, water tension, root pressure, all of these things, capillary action, and it goes up through the xylem and waters the rest of the plant. You can actually do this. We did this last year, and you can do it with celery. We can also do it with some white roses or white carnations. We can do the same thing. We'll probably do a little extension on that. But that is our beautiful blossom experiment. So a little bit of chromatography, and then a whole lot of capillary action and how plants get their water. So that is why when you water plants, you want to give it a nice bath, nice little drink, so the roots can absorb all of the water and the nutrients. And then those water nutrients go up into the plant through the xylem. That's right, the xylem is the channel which waters the rest of the plant. Very cool. All right, so I would be interested to see how your beautiful blossoms turned out. I'm most proud of this one, and I think smaller is going to be a little better. But again, I do the large ones just to kind of show you how dramatic it is. Man, look at that, it's really cool. So again, a little bit of chromatography, a whole lot of plant biology there. So let me know how it worked out, right? Did you use coffee filters? Did you use paper, cardstock, paper towels you could use? Let me know how it worked out. And yeah, hey, this has been STEM with Mr. C. Beautiful blossoms, and I hope you enjoyed this lesson. See you guys later.